basic equipment we'll need for making soups is a good sauce pot. We need a ladle for serving, a wooden spoon for stirring. Usually you'll need dry measuring cups, measuring spoons, maybe liquid measuring cups. We're going to need a can opener. We have vegetables to chop, which means a knife and a cutting board. And I also have a garlic press and a vegetable peeler. Probably one of the most popular beef broth or brown stock soups is a vegetable beef soup. For our vegetable beef soup, we will need ground beef, carrots, potatoes, onion, corn, green beans, vegetable juice, water, and salt and pepper to taste. To get our beef vegetable soup started, we're going to put our ground beef, diced onion, water, and finely diced red potatoes in the sauce pot to start. We're going to place that over a medium heat, and we're going to cover it and cook it for about 10 to 15 minutes or until the ground beef is no longer pink and the potatoes are tender. So that's going to take about 10 or 15 minutes. So after about 10 minutes, our potatoes are fairly tender, but our ground beef is still a little pink. So we're gonna give it a few more minutes with the lid on. So while my beef was cooking, I took my thinly sliced carrots and cooked them in the microwave for about 5 minutes to make them tender. And now we're ready. Our beef really doesn't have a lot of grease, so we're gonna go ahead and just add our carrots. And we are also going to add the drained corn. The green beans. The vegetable juice cocktail. And the salt and pepper. Now we need to let this simmer over a low heat for 30 minutes to give time for all the flavors to blend together. So once it comes to a simmer, we'll start that timer. Remember, for a simmer, we want to keep those small bubbles just barely breaking the surface. Another brown stock soup that we'll make is beef, mushroom, and barley. For this recipe, we'll need ground beef, garlic, salt, or salt and pepper, garlic cloves, onion, beef stock, tomato sauce, water, carrots, barley, mushrooms, and bay leaves. To make our beef, mushroom, and barley soup, we're going to start with a pound of ground beef sirloin. So that's like a 90-10 grind of beef with the garlic, salt and pepper, 4 cloves of garlic that have been minced, a half an onion that's been diced, all in the sauce pot over a medium heat. And we're going to cook that and stir it to break the beef up while it cooks. And we're going to stir it occasionally because we're going to cook it covered until the beef is no longer pink and the onion and garlic are tender. So it's going to take about 10 or 15 minutes. Just kind of get this all broken up. Remember, if your stovetop has numbers instead of words, medium is a 5 or 6. So again, we'll stir this occasionally over that 10 to 15 minutes And we just want to get this to the point where the beef is no longer pink. So now that my beef is browned for my beef mushroom and barley soup, I'm going to add the tomato sauce and the beef stock. I need 4 cups of beef stock, but since I bought a quart container and a quart is 4 cups, I don't have to measure, I just have to add. Get enough of that in here to slow down the cooking a little bit. And then I do want to make sure that I shake my stock container, whether it's a can or a box, so that anything that's settled to the bottom gets in our recipe. So I still have the pan currently over a medium heat. Give that a little stir. So now at the same time, I'm also going to add my water, carrots, barley, and mushrooms. So here's my diced carrot. One cup of barley. Water, and plenty of mushrooms. Now what we need to do is we're going to add our bay leaves next, and then we're going to need to simmer this over a low heat for 30 minutes to allow our flavors to blend well and everything to be hot. And then we'll take the bay leaves out before serving. So we're going to turn this down once everything gets warmed up and it starts to boil, starts to bubble. We're going to turn it down to a medium low or low to finish cooking for that 30 minutes. If you look closely at our beef, barley, and mushroom soup, you can see some tiny bubbles breaking the surface here and there throughout the pan. So we want to make sure we start that timer and let this go for about 30 minutes for those flavors to blend. You want to keep it at that low simmer so that you don't have too much evaporation and you still have a nice brothy soup. To make our French onion soup, we'll need butter or margarine, thinly sliced onions, beef broth, Worcestershire sauce, a dash of pepper, some toasted bread, and mozzarella cheese. To begin our French onion soup, we're going to melt 2 tablespoons of butter or margarine in a nice size sauce pot on a medium-low heat. Remember, medium-low is a 3 or 4. And then once that's melted, we are going to add our onion. Add our onion, and we'll just stir this. We'll let this cook on a medium-low heat and stir it occasionally for about 8 to 10 minutes. We're about halfway through on cooking our onions. You can see they're progressing nicely. They're starting to break down a little and soften. So a few more minutes and we'll be ready to move on to the next step for our French onion soup. Now we're ready for the next step with our French onion soup. Our onions have sauteed and the texture has broken down. So now we're going to add in 4 cups or 1 quart of beef broth. And this is still on a medium-low heat at this point. And again, since I bought this in a quart container, I did not have to pour it out and measure it into a liquid measuring cup. And we're going to add our teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, dash or 2 of pepper. Stir those in. And then we're going to place this, we're going to put a cover on it and simmer it for about 10 minutes. During that time, we're going to toast some bread, and ideally we would sprinkle it with cheese, that's an option, and then broil the cheese onto the toast. So we're going to let this simmer for 10 minutes at medium-low with a lid. Here we have our 3 brown stock soups, our beef vegetable, our beef mushroom and barley, and our French onion soup. Warm and delicious, a hearty meal, particularly terrific on a cold day.